Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome to the big show. My next guest, Jeremy Rosenthal, is on from TexasDefenseFirm.com. And I didn't report on this on purpose yesterday because I don't know what the hell's going on with this story, because I was pretty convinced halfway through this weekend that there may have been another close call in an assassination attempt against Trump. But then in the evidence that piled up before the James Show started yesterday, I'm not so sure. So I asked my friend Jeremy Rosenthal to come back on and explain what the heck's going on with that. In your estimation, was there another assassination attempt against Trump in near Coachella?
From a political standpoint, maybe. From a legal standpoint, no. There's no evidence that I've seen so far from that. Now they're gonna investigate this guy. They're gonna go up his keister as far as they can. This is a PG-13 show, right?
Well, no, that's a technical legal term. You know, there's an amicus brief. There's and a keister is another one. That's a second-year law school term. You're correct. And you learn it over and over and over again the more you practice. But they're going to go up this guy's keister. They're going to figure out what was really in his brain of his. If there's something there that's pointing to something more, then hopefully we'll see it. He identifies with a group that's called sovereign citizens. And anybody who has done any type of criminal law in the courts, whether you're prosecuting or defending, these types of folks kind of will come through there, and they're a little different. They're annoying is what they are. I'm not even sure they're philosophically wrong. I just think they're annoying.
Well, does anybody have your email address, or your mail address? The sovereign citizens are not a group that you want to have, that you want to be on their bad list.
But they're also pretty decidedly, for the most part, right wingers. Am I correct? Is that a fair characterization?
They are. Okay, so if being an anarchist means that you don't believe in the law, and that you don't follow law and you don't think laws apply, they're one step. I don't know if you want to call them to the right or the left of that. They don't believe that the government has jurisdiction over them. And
well, they do at the highest government they respect is at the county level, if I understand correctly.
It depends on who you ask. And I think you'll find big shock that they're all going to have different views on that.
Right.
But what happens is when I offended people with the sovereign citizen movement, it can just be very frustrating. A lot of times they want to prove bigger points. They want to put the system on trial. They want to make a statement about, well, the government doesn't control me. And a lot of times it's like, okay, well, the fact that it's not you on this video is a bit better of a defense than the state of Texas is not a real place. Let's do it my way.
Right.
And if that doesn't work, then we'll maybe consider it doing your way.
Okay, so I saw a report from the local cops that said he said that he was planning on assassinating Trump. The comments I heard, or the reporting I've heard from himself, is he said he's a Trump supporter. Which one's right?
Man, I don't know. From what I've heard, the car was very disheveled. He had a lot of ammunition in there. He had some weapons in there. He had fake passports. He had a fake, driver's license plate. It may just be Wednesday for this guy. That may be how he drives around. Who knows what was in his mind? From a lawyer standpoint, what we're looking at and what the authorities are looking at is what points to the intent to go there and commit some other offense. Because at the moment, what you have are some probably kind of mid-level weapons offenses in the state of California, and I don't know how serious that is.
All right, well, that makes you feel a little bit better about it. Overall, any assassination attempt deserves a little more scrutiny, and I appreciate you providing that today. This plagiarism scandal here, Kamala Harris, it was shown that she has listed over a dozen passages from her 2007 book. Is that illegal at some point? Is like theft of intellectual property? I don't know if there's criminal charges, or could she be civilly sued for stealing or for plagiarizing?
So first off, I've not heard of this. So I've been practicing law all day at a very high level, and it sounds like there's been some breaking news that we're learning. So if somebody has plagiarized something from 2007, you're saying?
That's when the book came out. That's when her book came out.
That's when the book came out. Okay. Yeah. So that's going to be some type of potentially, and you're getting me on what's called intellectual property and copyright patent infringement. Not my specialty, but I'll take a stab.
My guess is that any infraction of that, probably the statute of limitations may have run. Meaning that if let's say she had written this book in 2007 from something that was copyrighted from before then, whoever was infringed I would think is on notice, and maybe there's some smarter lawyers. There are lawyers that listen to your show, James. They talk to me and they say, "You're a lawyer." There's judges listen to your show, so you've got a lot of power. You've got a lot of stick in this community. But yeah, my money is on that. It is too late, but again, there's no statute of limitations on public opinion. So there.
Ooh, I like that. There was also some breaking news. She had tweeted this morning that she's proposing in her opportunity agenda grant program. She's calling it forgivable loans, but we know that just means grants. Business grants to 1 million black people. Is having a program that focuses on race to give out loans, is that even legal?
I would have to see exactly how it's worded. From a civil rights standpoint, there has been a lot of litigation that talks about race-based decision-making from the government. And a lot of times what happens is the analysis comes down to things that look neutral, but might not have a neutral impact. They may have what they call a disparate impact on certain things.
Right.
So a lot of times, for instance, a classic example that we learned about in law school and civil rights, cities would make ordinances that say, no, you have to have a 2-car garage to build a new house in our community. And then they would take a step back, and then the courts would come back and say, you're really trying to keep minorities out, which, it could be a facially neutral policy that has a disparate impact. I don't know if, depending on how they're targeting it and how they're doing it, it could very well face some legal issues, even if her proposal doesn't expressly say this is for this type of person. There are groups that could come back and say, well, even though you didn't say it, that's kind of what's happening.
All right, my next one, we're going to take a hard turn here. One of the stories I'm going to be bringing up in the next hour is a viral video there's a middle school, and they have a gay-straight alliance club, and there's a bunch of kids introducing themselves with their fake names and their fake pronouns, and they're all wearing masks and have colored hair. And I was just thinking, we have a sexually themed club for kids that are aged 11 to 13. How is that legal? Because, if I ran into an 11-year-old in the parking lot and I said, hey, you want to learn how to do gay stuff that's sexually speaking, I could get charged with a crime for that. How can they do this in a school setting and it's legal?
So we're talking about and to make sure I'm understanding the fact pattern correctly, we're talking about teenage kids, or you're saying 10, 11, 12, 13.
It's a middle school has a gay-straight alliance, a GSA, yeah. Okay,
and is this sponsored by the school, or is this like a thing that we do on TikTok at home?
I think this is sponsored by the school. They looked like they were in a classroom for their meeting.
In Texas, let's just, and I don't know if this is in Texas, but let's say what Texas law would say about such a thing. An adult would have criminal liability. Whatever the nature of this group would have to be pretty out of bounds. It would have to be, there would have to be probably some degree of solicitation. There would have to be, it wouldn't be enough to just promote the generic, if you will, for a criminal purpose, LGBTQ. I don't think that that's going to get you any type of criminal liability. Now, if you look at the education code, there may be something in the education code that prohibits a school administrator from organizing such a thing. It would have to be pretty darn sexualized in my mind in order for that to trigger any type of criminal scrutiny.
This is the same argument that comes up when they have the sexually themed books that are in elementary and middle schools and even high schools, because they'll say that they describe pretty graphically the process by which our homosexual friends recreate. And I just have a feeling that if I took the page out of a book and I showed a kid in a Walmart parking lot, I would go to jail.
Well, if that's what's going on the box or on the Instagram or the TikTok, then I think that would be concerning. And these other people, the administrator is going to have probably some pretty good First Amendment grounds to kind of hit back with too. It's an interesting debate, it really is, and I would love to learn more facts about it.
But again, my guess is that, and when I say like sexualized, I mean most criminal offenses. If you're talking about solicitation, you are talking about actual nuts and bolts and birds and bees, and it's got to be that literal in order for it to really trigger any type of criminal liability. If it's an idea that the parents don't like, well, then that's what getting fired is for, right?
There you go. All right. Well, thank you for the extra time. I appreciate it, Jeremy.
Happy to do it, James. Happy to do it. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. Find Jeremy Rosenthal and his work, TexasDefenseFirm.com. Now, when we bring guests on this show, sometimes we'll tell you it's going to be so-and-so from some organization. And if you hadn't heard of the organization, don't worry. We're not wasting your time with people that aren't getting things done. My next guest is Joe Proenza from the American Principles Project. And to let you know how consequential these guys are, they've had an amicus brief filed with the Supreme Court today on one of the biggest cases that's going down right now, United States versus Skrmetti. Now, I am no legal scholar, but even I know what this one is. This is it has to do with transitioning minors and sort of the big test balloon on whether or not the nationwide acceptance or rejection of sterilizing minor children. I'm trying not to be sensational, but I mean that's the problem we have with it. It's not that you're putting a 15-year-old boy in a dress; it's that you're sterilizing him for life. You know, it's a step too is the step too far for many people. So my next guest, Joe Proenza, welcome from the American Principles Project. I know I had you scheduled to talk about what's going on with the election and whatnot. So if you're not prepared for this, I just saw the news from your organization this morning. Welcome to the James Show, sir.
James, good to be with you. And we can start with that. You know, the amicus brief our policy team filed today is one of the more important things that APP is doing, supporting 25 states that have passed laws restricting these sex change procedures for minors in various capacities. Now, this gives the states and kind of the federalism not so different from Trump's position right now on abortion policy, allowing the states to make these decisions. But this amicus brief and this challenge in the Supreme Court is so important because if we can't protect children from a $4.4 billion, that's billion with a B, dollar industry that the pharmaceutical companies are running right now to chemically castrate, and you didn't go too far, James, at the beginning. It's to chemically castrate children with irreversible surgeries and drugs, then what kind of country are we? And we feel very confident that this amicus brief and the attorneys generals that are on our side here fighting to make sure that children are protected, we feel very confident that we're going to win here when the Supreme Court hears it.
Oh, man, I'm so glad you can talk about this. First off, what is an amicus brief for those of us who didn't go to law school?
Well, I didn't either, but I'm told reliably by people that did that it is a friend of the court brief. So it's something that organizations and different groups can file in support of a particular position on the court. So our amicus brief lays out the reasons why this law is constitutionally sound and also a necessary policy step.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that update and your important work on that. That's a huge issue, and a huge issue in the election. Believe it or not, it hasn't been in elections before. Can you imagine in the election of like 2000 or 2004, there would be a real hot button issue on whether or not we should sterilize children, Joe?
No, absolutely not. I don't think anybody in this country could, which is why I think that you're seeing this movement, especially over the past couple of weeks, to President Trump and to Republicans nationwide. President Trump released one of the best ads that's been released all cycle, highlighting Kamala Harris when she was the Attorney General of the state of California, highlighting her comments where she said, I was the one who changed the policy to ensure that criminals in California jails could have taxpayer-funded sex changes. She said that in 2019 when she was running for the nomination for president then. That ad is being played in college football games and NFL games and Major League playoff games. Voters are seeing that, and voters are recoiling. This goes way too far for anybody. Here at American Principles Project, we did focus groups in swing areas across the country, and the one thing, they can be almost communist on various issues, but But white women in suburban areas, when they hear about these transitions, they freak out. It's a way much a step too far. And now you see Democrats trying to get away from that issue. In Texas, you guys have a Senate race, and Ted Cruz and the Senate Leadership Fund have been properly calling out Colin Allred for his support for transgender surgeries for minors, for men and women's sports. And Allred had to come out with an ad pushing back on this because they're scared. They know that it polls terribly. They know that the American public and the people of Texas do not like this sort of thing, and they're prepared, and they have to do something to blunt this, because I think this is a KO issue. It goes to, the thing that Tim Walz said at the beginning when he was picked as the VP, trying to call Republicans weird. Well, James, I don't know if you think it's weird to be involved in children and trying to transition them or put men in women's sports, but I think it's weird, and that's why they backed off the weird stuff. They're trying to back away from the trans issues, but APP, President Trump, Senator Vance are making sure we staple it to them.
Right. Putting tampons in a third grade boy's bathroom is pretty weird in my book. Joe Proenza, thank you very much. Find their great work, AmericanPrinciplesProject.org. Anything else you can promote here real quick?
James, we're in all of the critical swing states. We're doing everything we can. Any support to AmericanPrinciplesProject.org will be greatly appreciated. We're going to win this electoral college. We're going to win the United States Senate. We're going to win the House. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.